Greetings everybody, Chess by Jason here, bringing you my third round victory from the Santa Barbara County Chess Championship, which I am currently playing in online. Going into this round, I had 1.5 out of 2 points, so I really needed to win these games because several players had a perfect score. And yeah, let's jump right into it. I opened with my customary c4. And okay, black has a million good moves here. G6, knight f6 is in the game. E6, E5, D6, C6, C5, knight C6, B6, A6? Okay, well, everything is good against the English, so you could kind of play whatever you like. He went with knight f6, which, okay, you've seen a lot. And I played pawn to g3 here. I'm starting to think that knight c3 is a better move order for what I'm trying to do, but I'm just used to playing g3, so I done it. And after c5, bishop to g2, I was very hopeful that I could get a symmetrical English after knight c6 and knight c3, which is one of my favorite things to play with white, but it was not meant to be because he played d5 very aggressively. And this is a good system for black. This is against particularly what I'm doing with g3, bishop to g2. I actually really like this system for black. Whoa, not that move. It is kind of reminiscent of playing like a Grunfeld. Okay, I took, and after knight takes, I played knight f3 first because it does give white one additional option. After knight to c6, we can go for this interesting line, d4. And the idea here, and this has been seen a handful of times, after pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, for example, knight d to p4, knight takes knight, queen takes queen, king takes, knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and bishop to e3. I have given up my light squared bishop, which is a little bit of foreshadowing for what we see in the game, but we have damaged their structure. This is reasonable for white, and I see the same player has played it at least 3 times with good results here, and that is a strong grandmaster whose name cannot be pronounced by me. But maybe next time. What I played instead is a little more conventional. I just played the move knight to c3, putting pressure on this horse, and I've got the x-ray pressure here, which is why black really always plays the following move, knight to c7, because staying on that square is not good for your health. I played d3 first, but that's interchangeable with castling. E5, black establishes what's called a Maroczy bind setup, is these 2 pawns, and it's challenging because, okay, I'm never going to be able to play d3 to d4, which is an important pawn break in this type of position, and black is claiming a bit of a space advantage. Definitely this is one way to play for a win with the black pieces. Okay, I castled, and after bishop to e7, knight to d2, and bishop to d7, that's preventing me from giving him these very, very unpleasant pawns. Now, I should mention my opponent was a pretty tough FIDE master. At least 15 years ago, he was very, very tough, although he's been pretty inactive since then. But peak rating, 2450 USCF, so a very serious player. And I wasn't surprised that he had a system here. Okay, bishop d7, knight to c4, and I have a threat here of taking the knight, and after bishop takes, knight takes pawn. And so generally they're going to play f6 here, f6 preventing that, and then the line goes f4. b5 immediately is more accurate than taking. Taking is not as good because after bishop takes, I've got this square, which is very usable. So generally, after f4, b5 first, hitting the knight, knight e3. Then they take, and I probably would have gone with this sort of exotic line. Yeah, the computer also likes knight to f5, because if they take the knight, they are hanging c6. This one gets a little bit crazy. Again, our friend Stockfish insists it's like dynamically equal. I don't know. It looks like a lot of fun, though. This is definitely an interesting way to play chess. Okay, I'm hitting g7. They're hitting g3. It's a whole mess. But Okay, not what happened, because he very shockingly went with castles. And I know of this move, but I've never spent more than, well, any time on it in my entire life. All I know about it is I'm supposed to take the pawn, and I mean, it's got to be a little dubious because he is losing a pawn. I take the knight, once again giving up that light squared bishop. Not something you usually want to do when you have this strong fianchettoed bishop, but somehow the position here is always calling for it. Bishop takes, and I snap up the pawn. If I could take back the bishop, then I'm really just up a pawn for nothing, so no surprise, bishop to e8. And, okay, truth be told, I have never looked at this position in my life. Shame on me. But I am happy with the way I solved it over the board, or handled it over the board. I played the move f2 to f4, which is way down here on the list, but it is Stockfish approved. I just want to cement the knight in place, gain a little bit of space. I don't feel like it's weakening my king. Somehow it actually is making my king feel a little safer in this position. And I want to play the move e4 next, bishop to e3, queen c2, rook a d1, etc. And just say I'm up a pawn. What have you got? Well, he's got the bishop pair, but not much else, I don't think. Okay, pawn to f6. Knight goes back, and yes, I think bishop to f7. That does seem to be the more practical choice, because after bishop to c6, which he played, he's just walking into my next move, e4, and this bishop gets somewhat blunted. And yeah, here, I think I just like my position. Again, having never analyzed it, I didn't have anything to go off of. The computer evaluation here is helpful, but during the game, it's, you know, you're not really sure where you stand. But I figure, okay, I'm up a pawn. My center is, you know, quite reasonable. I'm going to be able to defend my backwards pawn on d3. So I really thought this should be okay. Okay, queen d7, preparing to slide over a rook. Bishop to e3, rook to d8, and okay, I can't defend the pawn with something terribly awkward like knight to e1. That's a pretty gross move to play. But okay, the correct solution's not too hard to find. Queen b3 check. He's got to get out of check. Then rook to d1. And okay, I'm defending the weakest point in my position, the d3 pawn. I'm not missing my light squared bishop terribly, because if he was still sitting on g2, he wouldn't be a really wonderful piece at the moment. And, well, my control of the center is very good. Okay, knight to e6. That seems a reasonable developing move, but my edge is growing bit by bit. I did play the correct move, queen to c2. My reason for doing so was probably not the most pressing. I wanted to get away from the potential threat bishop to a4, skewering my queen to my rook. Obviously, my knight covers that now, but it may not be able to continue doing so. So queen c2 looked good to me, and after his move b5, it makes sense he's trying to get some counterplay and push on the queen side, but it did give me the opportunity to play f4 to f5 with a winning advantage already. So okay, a bit of a missed opportunity, because I played b3 first, and my idea was I wanted to meet the move b5 to b4 with knight to a4, and if it survives, knight b2 to c4, which would be a really monumental knight outpost. And after the move b4, if knight a4, if he takes it, then he's giving back the bishop pair. I mean, obviously I'm not thrilled about these doubled pawns, but white is much better here. But here he could have played g6 and prevented f5, and then I would have lost a really, really, really useful possibility for me. So I most likely should have played f5 right away. After b3, though, lucky for me, he did not play g6. He played queen b7, and he's lining up on this diagonal, clearly preparing himself to play f5, but yeah, here I just beat him to the punch, and so this should just be a better version of what could have happened a move prior. Attack the knight, and now f4 is going to be a really juicy square. Well, we'll see that coming up. Okay, knight to d4. That is a move, but I cannot suffer this knight to survive much longer. I have to take it. If I take it with the knight, I am walking into this fork. Okay, we can't have that. So I took it with my bishop, and here we've got the two knights versus the two bishops. Generally, the long-range pieces are going to have an edge here, but the center is really blocked off, and besides that, I've got the idea knight f4 to e6, and that's just going to be phenomenal. So I was feeling really good here, and yeah, not surprised to see the engine agrees, giving me a score of, well, roughly an extra 2 pawns. Okay, queen b6 defends this pawn and sets up a very nasty threat. If I just do nothing, well, check this out. He's got bishop takes e4, and if I take it, the discovery. Okay, d3, and I'm in check, and my queen is in check. Okay, so I had to avoid that, and after the move queen to b6, I correctly played king to g2, getting away from all of that. And here, he sort of lost the thread a little bit. Okay, he's already much worse / losing, but after rook to d6, I guess his plan was to double rooks and defend the pawn, but it's not really defending the pawn, because tactically, I could just take it, and I did. The engine's choice knight f4 apparently is safer, but I can't imagine what's too wrong with this. Because, okay, he would love to trade his rook for these two knights, but it's not that simple, because takes, and the bishop hangs. So that's not working. And so I kind of felt like he just blundered rook to d6 by allowing my next move, imperfect though it be. Rook to d8, and yeah, I mean, why would I not put my knight on e6? Again, when you have your knight really entrenched in their position like that, okay, it's not just a knight outpost. It's like some kind of a squid monster with tentacles reaching everywhere. This is too strong. Just having that piece, it's worth at least as much as a rook. So, okay, I was confident here that I was going to win shortly. Rook to d7, so I don't just capture it. And okay, I here, yeah, not too hard to spot the best idea. What I really wanted to play is the move d3 to d5. That move is, of course, illegal. But if I could just get my pawn a little further, I will establish the Diamond of Death. Guys, the Diamond of Death, no one survives it, alright? The Diamond of Death is too powerful. If I get that pawn to d5, and I just have all of that, I mean, that's it. That's the game. So I played d4, and okay, I'm at this point, like, my thought process is, please nothing prevent me from playing d5. Well, he did prevent me from playing d5, but, like, okay. And he simply resigned here. So a pretty smooth victory, demonstrating the power of knights in a closed position, and, okay, the power of being up extra pawns, going way back to here. I do not think castling can be a good move, even though it's been played so many times. I think f6 just must be much better, because remember, after castles, I do take the knight, take the pawn, played f4, bishop c6 was inaccurate, e4, and just sort of build up my position. Queen b3, rook d1, queen back to c2, b3, probably my only serious inaccuracy. f5 was much better there. But, okay, he missed the chance to prevent me from doing that. And now we just kind of build up the attack. The knight jumps to d4. We take, getting the two knights for the two bishops. A little bit awkward, but again, in such a closed position, it's actually the knights that are thriving. Queen to b6, setting up some unpleasantness on the g1, a7 diagonal. So king to g2 is prudent. And then, yeah, rook d6, now it kind of got away from him. I took the pawn, maybe not the most accurate move, but I do want to be up 2 pawns. Rook d8, and there is our giant Cthulhu-style squid monster. Rook d7, d4, trying to establish the diamond of certain death. And yes, that is that is unstoppable, because after he takes the knight, simply recapture, and he resigned the game here. Our friend Stockfish says +8. That's like being up a queen just about. On my next move, I'm going to play d5 anyway. Okay, I'm up a massive amount of material. The bishop pair is not going to mean much in this type of position. I'm going to have like connected passed pawns, so he called it a day. So I move up into the final round. I'm still behind the leaders by half a point. 2 players have 3 out of 3. I'm going to need them to go ahead and draw that game. And if I win my last game with the black pieces, I will split first prize with them. If one of them wins the game, well, it's outside of my control, so all I could do is play my very best in my game, which is, black against another chess master. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little lesson on, I guess, the English opening, and a bit of an obscure variation where they sack the pawn. It's been seen a lot of times, but I really can't believe in it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed my lesson, and see you next time.